Everybody's in the room and you're not recording.
Say that again, Erica.
Everybody's out of the waiting room and you are recording.
Okay, perfect. So we are going to start the meeting a little late due to technical difficulties we're having with our Wi-Fi and getting this new Zoom account up and going here quickly. It is 7:03, so we're going to officially start at 7:03 p.m. Welcome, and this is the call to order for the Beaver Dam Lake Protection and Rehabilitation District monthly board meeting for June of 2023. The meeting is meeting the requirements for the open public New York State open meeting rules, and but we have a quorum here in the building. Of our 7 members, we have 5 present. One is remotely signed in. Diana, are you online? I see you there. Okay, so I got myself, I got Chris, I got Larry, I got Fred Whitman. Kevin Boyle can't make it today. Jason Eunice is with us. Diane Smith is signed in remotely. And we've got board support. Erica Dahl is on, and is Dave Miskovic on? I see Dave signed on. Okay,
He's here.
We got a lot to cover, so let's do the pledge. That's up. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Everybody should have received a copy of the agenda in advance and also have a hard copy in front of you now. Diana, you should have a copy also. Make a motion to adopt agenda. Anybody second? Are you all in favor?
Yeah.
Agenda is hereby adopted. Okay, so we're going to we have a very, very busy schedule, so I'm going to cover a couple of administrative items very quickly here. We have 60 minutes to cover a lot of information. Our last board meeting we had was on May 10th. This is the next monthly meeting. The action items, I'm not going to cover all the action items from our last meeting, but there were 17 actions. The actions were pulled together by Larry. Larry, if you don't mind, could you collect actions again this meeting for us? Thank you. There were 17 actions. Of the 17 actions, 14 were completed in the last 30 days, and 3 are still in progress. Does anybody have any questions on the actions, the board? We're good. I know one of your actions is still open, Fred, but I know you completed your action. We just actually have to send it out. We're going to do that in concert with what Jason has. Okay, the primary purpose or focus of this particular meeting is in accordance with the bylaws for our rehab district, as we have to have a budget meeting. This meeting will serve primarily for covering that purpose. For to focus the majority of our time on the budget, we'll put them in your phrase that we'll focus as much time as we need to cover the budget, and then as time permits, we're going to cover other items. First, I just want to cover safety. Safety is paramount more than anything else here at Beaver Dam Lake. We want nobody getting hurt, nobody getting injured. Just to report out, back right after our last board meeting, we had 2 incidents on the reserve, both involved police. On Reserve 4 here at the beach, we had an incident where some young individuals who were not from the area were hanging out here on Reserve 4. They had a little pizza party and decided to throw the pizza boxes on the ground, and they were becoming a little bit unruly, a little bit loud. One of our neighbors approached and said, "Hey, can you please pick that up?" They got very disgruntled with the request. They actually drove away very fast and nearly missing the resident. The police were called, and the police did go talk to the individuals. To the best of my knowledge is that no charges were brought against them. Steve, thank you very much for all you do, as always, for Beaver Dam Lake. Your awesome support for us, I appreciate it. Next one involved the Cornwall police, and that was on the same day up on Reserve 2. An individual identified one of her kayaks were missing, and while she was observing this, they observed individuals tampering with another boat. They approached them, and it turned out that people were again trying to steal boats up in Reserve 2. And again, the police were called from Cornwall, and that was also addressed to the police. Any questions on the safety aspects with the police being involved?
With the first one, were they underage?
I can't answer. I don't have any details on, other than the fact the police were called. I'm assuming that they had to be at least 16 to drive. That's all I could tell you. I think there were 4 people in the car. board membership, our board is fully staffed right now, 7. Just to reiterate, the board members are unpaid volunteers, dedicate a lot of time and a lot of energy. And I do not want to go through what we've had in the past happen to our previous board chair. We don't want to ever go there again. So harassment of any kind is not going to be tolerated and will involve police departments. Okay, with that, I'm just going to jump right into the budget, Erica, if you're ready to go with it. Good.
I am, thank you. Okay. All right, so hopefully all of the board members have a copy in front of them or access to it as we go through
Did we hear
it.
this okay? Okay.
Okay, so my position in this is just because I have some historical knowledge of how the budget works. I'm just going to facilitate the board conversation about it. Feel free at any time, board members, cut me off and let me know if you need clarification or if you want shifts on any of these items. Okay. Okay, can we see my Excel document on the screen?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So what you're seeing now, column V is going to be the actual amount we spent on these items in 2022. Then
Okay.
you're going to see the board request that we made last year for this year's budget. So 2023 is the budget we're operating on right now. So we do not have the actuals for what we've spent this year. In total, obviously, because we're only halfway through the year. So you're going to see what the board requested. And then what happens is we send, the board sends our request to the legislature and sometimes, I'm sorry, the DPW. And sometimes the DPW and the legislature shift our request a little bit because usually it's because they don't feel like we put enough in one line item. They have yet to take out anything that we have requested. So if we want it, we usually get it. But sometimes they have to shift some things up a little bit that are beyond our control after this, but you'll be able to see that here as well. So what you see is in column Z, you'll see what we requested last year. Column AA, you'll see what the county adopted last year. And then in column AE, you'll see what the kind of what the proposed request is this year. And then board members can make decisions on whether or not they want to shift these numbers or if this is what they're comfortable requesting this year based upon the services that were talked about for 2024. And then the board would ideally vote on this budget, and then it would be sent to the DPW to adjust and propose to the legislature. So I will do my best to explain what these categories are, and if there are any major shifts from years past, I will try to highlight those out loud so folks can see them. So the entire personnel services section at the top, this is 2024. This is a request for continuation of the employment of Tom Lark, who is our maintenance gentleman or someone in that position. So this is what his salaries would be and all of the adjustment for his wages. You'll see that lifeguards are listed up here. That's for potential in future years. And we'll explain why there's no lifeguard salary proposal listed in this section in just a moment. So everything in this section has to do with the maintenance employee that we hire here who takes care of all of our reserves, and he's part-time.
Okay, Erica, for each section, I'm just going to briefly touch on it just for people in the room then so they can understand a little bit also, because they can't see your screen, obviously.
Okay.
The first section of the budget is basically a spreadsheet divided into sections. The first part is personnel. Personnel deals with the people that we actually have working for us. We only have one paid individual, it's Tom Lark. He does all our maintenance for all the reserves and everything. He's staying in the budget. Generally, the number we put in there gets bumped up by the county anyway based on cost of living adjustments. So that's pretty much the only individual. Lifeguards are not reflected in this part. Okay, Erica, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. All right, now the second section is contractual expenses. So the line that you see here, 19, is a $3,000 request for county legal fees that we might have to use, and that has to do with, you know, contracts and things that we would require legal services for. I know that the county actually requested a little bit more. Wally did push back on them and say, we haven't used that much in the past. We really don't need to request more on this. So currently you will see $3,000 as the request for that, and it's stable. The second line here that you'll see for $34,300 is up a bit. This is the DPW administrative fees. So there are folks at DPW, part of the staff there, that assist us with our accounts and with the running of the district, and they charge us a fee for that, and that is what it is.
Let me say a little bit on that, Erica. Also, basically, there are a number of people in the county that support us regularly here. The commissioner, the the deputy commissioner, the people in finance. Basically, 3% of their salaries is billed against our budget. It's what they call chargebacks. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Thank you. And then the next line, actually, I've highlighted it because it has shifted since last year, and I just want to highlight the changes. You'll see that it's gone down. We had requested $186,700 last year, and that is because you'll see the services that were potentially needed for this year. So it included underwater services, which would have been, I believe, the scuba contract in case we needed things looked at that way, dam engineering, inspections, a fee for unanticipated engineering. And then this is where you'll see beach management, $50,000. So this would be if we had a company who ran the beach and was in charge of the lifeguards. Because the board is volunteer only, it is a tremendous responsibility, unpaid responsibility to run the beach. It is a heavy lift to get all of the lifeguards hired and all of their credentials set up and supervise them all summer long. It means the board is responsible for physical presence here over the summer. So it would be of tremendous benefit, in my opinion, to continue to ideally outsource this in the future if a company would take it on. So that would include like the lifeguard salaries and the administrative fees for a company like that. And then lake health testing, which last year we requested $35,000 for lake health testing. Moving into the future, and I think you're going to hear about this later on in the meeting, the proposal is reduced by $15,000 for next year to $20,000. So that would bring that line down to $124,200 for next year.
From from 186,000 down to 124,000.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Then there are some basic things that it looks like the decision was to flat fund it. So these are things that we might have to purchase. And if we do, we need to make sure that the money is in the budget to purchase it. You may see a lot of zeros in the actual column in that we didn't need to purchase these things. So at the end of this budget, there's a surplus that we're able to apply. So this is kind of a like worst case scenario request, if you will. So that being said, use of DPW labor, this would be like if we had trees fall down or something like that, and we needed the DPW to come and remove those items. Same thing for equipment rental from DPW or equipment use from DPW. Office supplies, printer paper, card stock. Again, these are just flat funded from the years before. Postage, bottled water. This line right here, 29, water for $1,100. That would be like the water bill for the community building because they are on the water company water. Clothing, there's nothing in that line. Stone, and that's for like parking fill areas, or if we wanted to do like improvements to the boat launch, that's where that would come from. Ice melt for the community building, beach sand, topsoil, and grass. We, occasionally have to order a new delivery of beach sand, so that is important. Miscellaneous hardware, paint for the community building, lumber and related supplies, plumbing supplies, electrical supplies. I think you'll see $261 was spent because we had our heater in the community building broke last year. Water test kits and samples, cleaning supplies, General buildings, materials, supplies, these things have all been, again, flat funded. Computer programs, updates and licenses, that would be something like the Zoom license that you're attending this meeting on right now. Materials for building and grounds, shipping charges, if we order something big, that's where the line it would come out of. Work clothing for our employee and for our lifeguards, first aid supplies when those need to be restocked. The community building electric and heat, telephone service and internet service for the community building. Again, flat funded. Mileage for non-county employee reimbursement. So that's the use of volunteer vehicles. The nice FOLA and C-SLAP training, $2,000. The mileage for reimbursement for the county employees. So that's Tom's mileage when he goes around to the reserves. He does use a personal vehicle to do that. Specialty payments, here again, we have a fluctuation, and this is more based on the county making some moves this year. So last year, you'll see in the 2023 budget comments, this line was just for fishery stocking, election inspectors, and sewer taxes, which kind of all get lumped into this specialty payments category. This year, you'll see that we've reduced the amount for fishery stocking because we don't need the same things that we did in the past, but there's still $6,000 in the budget to do that. Flags and signage, sewer tax, election inspectors, and then there are 3 kind of big ticket items this year: an appraisal, a title search and insurance, and an easement. And you'll see that, Wally, if you want to explain what these things are, but I would just like to share that the DPW said that it is a one-time expense, so we would not see this charge in future years.
Yeah, basically the county added into our budget what they call a specialty payment for 3 items. It's the appraisal, a title search, and an easement that pertains directly to the property down by the dam, that in the event they ever had to go on the other side of the dam, which is personal property, they put in to get an easement so the county has legal access to that area. So it's some of the action we definitely need. So it's a one-time fee just to get through that. So in this budget, they added, how much was the title search? 2,500. So it's
About
20. How much is it?
About $24,000.
About $24,000 total for that one-time fee being built into there.
Okay, so it does. That is a one-time expense that does shift the budget significantly from last year. So that had previously been $6,768, and now it is $39,500 because of that one-time easement fee. Printing, this would be if we wanted to do 2 general mailings next year to the community. Maintenance contracts, this is another area that has shifted. Lake algicide treatments, last year a couple of things happened. We only had 2 scheduled in the budget, and we did actually need more. So this year we have put in for 3, and also the cost has gone up of an algicide treatment a little bit. Herbicide treatment, again, it went up $200 a treatment for each treatment, which we would do 2 of. And then you can see all of the other fees are the same as previous years, except the amounts have shifted. Poison ivy control went down by $500, but I think that's the only other major shift in that line. So,
yeah, but the other thing,
anything?
the only other thing is that we actually had a herbicide treatment in there to deal with cattails, which is when we first filled the lake. We kept that in the budget for 2 years, and we're removing it for 2024.
Okay.
We don't see any need to have to deal with cattails.
Okay, so there's a shift in the amount, but it has to do with just the rising cost of herbicide and algicide, much like so many other things these days, right? Prices are going up. So maintenance and repair services was just a line that got shifted elsewhere, but there's $0 in there. Building and grounds has to do with our mowing, our spring and fall cleanup, snow plowing, and unforeseen items. Rubbish removal from the building, also just a flat funded amount. taxes, and nice FOLA and C-SLAP dues are also the same. Alrighty. In terms of the equipment expenses, which can range from things like lake rakes to vacuum cleaner to a battery powered snow blower to floating mats, any items, smaller items like that. They request that the board be specific about what they're requesting. So the board had put in some small requests already, but you can see that it's significantly down from last year. The equipment cost requested last year was $16,180, and this year it is only $1,785. So equipment fee is significantly down this year. The numbers on the bottom have to do with the benefits that go to Tom. So all Lake District employees are either part-time or seasonal. They do not receive paid medical benefits, nor do they receive paid time off for vacation. So these items you can see are very specific and dictated by the county's employee procedures. So that means that for O&M, and stick with me here because this is a little bit complicated. So there's two kinds of taxes that you pay to live on the lake every year. You pay O&M, which is a flat fee for every single resident, whether you live lakefront or you live as far back as you can get off the lake. O&M is what the board can control. It is what the board can make requests about, and it is the same fee for every household on the lake. Okay.
So just to give an example, Erica, there are roughly 820 homes in Beaver Dam Lake in the district. So the total budget request for 2024 is $365,000. So if you take 365,000 divided by the number of the 820 homes, that's the share per homeowner. Correct, out of the O&M budget.
Yes.
It don't matter where the house is in proximity to the lake.
Yes. So what I want to highlight
Size of
here
the-
is that what the board would be requesting, if left as it currently is, and none of these numbers are shifted, that the board is requesting significantly less than last year. So the board has cut the budget, right, from $398,977 down to $365,148. The O&M board request is reduced from last year. Keep that in mind when I show you the next piece.
I apologize for not having anything you guys can see.
So this is just showing you what the board has requested in years past, what the county has adopted in years past. Okay. And then it will show you on this line right here, O&M charge per dwelling unit would be your annual fee that you would pay in taxes for this O&M budget that the board would propose. So what we do every year is the money that goes unspent goes into an account called surplus. So say we requested $400,000 and we only used $200,000 of it. The other $200,000 would go into this bucket called surplus. That bucket of surplus money can be applied the next year to offset the taxes. Okay, so every year we have a different amount of money in surplus because we have different needs and spend differently against the current budget. So this year we have $114,000 of surplus. So here is that 365,148 number. So this is what the board is requesting, that bottom line for O&M, again, down from last year. We have $114,000 of surplus that we did not spend from last year that we can now apply to offset the tax burden. That being said, and then it would be divided by 814 homes, and that's the number of houses that they determined are in the Beaver Dam Lake District, and that might change slightly as well. So that would mean that to live on the lake, your annual fee for operations and maintenance is $309 annually. So the tax that you'd pay would go up a little bit this year, but not because the board is asking for more money. Okay. So that is O&M.
So roughly $25 a month goes to O&M in your tax bill.
Okay. The other piece, which I know folks had a lot of questions about last year, and we saw a big increase in the capital budget last year because all of the principal that was borrowed on the dam came due last year. So we saw this big increase this year. Good news is this year there's not an increase. So you should not see maybe a couple dollars, but you should not see a significant increase in your capital budget simply because the dam was completed. They didn't need to borrow any more money to do the dam. We're already paying the principal and interest the same as last year. So that amount of money, although it shifted a little bit between principal payment and interest payment, as you can see on the spreadsheet, the bottom line is almost identical. So your capital taxes will not go up significantly, but O&M will go up a little bit.
So, but basically, to fund the repairs to the dam, the county floated bonds out. So this is the principal and interest on those bonds, which is the capital part of your tax bill.
So if the board wants to leave this proposal as it exists right now, based on the services that you shared that you're interested in next year, that would be the bottom line. So does the board have any questions, concerns?
Well, only because of the importance of this particular topic. I just want to go around one by one. Fred, do you have any comments on the proposed budget for 2024? Fred has no comments. Larry, do you have any comments?
No.
Larry has no comments. Chris, do you have any comments?
No.
Jason, do you have any comments?
I do not have any comments.
Okay. Diana, do you have any comments at all?
I have no comments.
Okay. Did I miss anybody other than Kevin who's not available? Okay. And I have no comments on it. The only comment I will have, though, to everybody is that these are the numbers that we put forth to the county. And when it goes to them, they can massage numbers and they put other add-ons. So these numbers could change slightly. So this is what we're giving to them, though, as our input. And what we focus on as a board is twofold. We want to keep, you're here because of a lake. We want to keep this as pristine and best quality condition that we can. So we look not just to spend money for the sake of spending money, but live smarter also. If we can spend a little bit more this year to make it better for next year, we'll do that as well. But overall, the O&M is going down and the capital stays the same. Okay, I think that's all I got. So Erica, I think if we put it out to a vote right now, we have a vote of 6-0 to approve what you put together for the proposed budget to send out. The only thing I would like to do, though, is at this point in the agenda is open it up for public input. Does anybody in the room have any input relative to the budget? The things you think we should consider either this year or next year and to try to make things better?
Fine.
Okay. Steve, is there anything we should do to try to make things safer?
I think we should do it.
Speed bumps, anything? Anybody else have anything at all in the room? Okay, nothing in the room. Anybody online have any comments about Erica covered? Or let me rephrase it. Any input of what we should consider for the budget? Did we lock down the input?
Chat boxes are open, voices are.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Can I ask you a question?
You may.
What was the reference to cattails and poison ivy?
In the area we put in for cost for treating the lake and treating the properties, there was one for poison ivy for on the properties. We have money in the budget to actually go have a come in to actually deal with the poison ivy. Relative to the lake, if you recall 2 years ago, we were overtaken by cattails. It was basically choke us and out. Even though cattails are a good vegetation for the lake, we put together a budget to bring it back to a reasonable number. So we had money in the budget as a herbicide to deal with cattails. Last year we didn't need any, and now this year we don't need any. I'm sorry, the year before we did. This year we didn't need any. We don't foresee any in next year. So we're moving the budget money to deal with cattails. You're welcome. Okay. Speed bumps work for me. Okay. Okay, Erica, is that all you got there?
Yep, you would just need a motion to
Yep.
accept the budget request.
Okay. And somebody motion to adopt the budget request.
We adopted this, yeah.
Red put together the motion to adopt the budget as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Larry gave the second. All in favor?
Aye.
So we have a unanimous vote then, Erica, to approve the budget as is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's a very, very good point, Fred. Thank you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of background work that goes into this, and Erica, thank you. I can't thank you enough that sticking with it, and Dave Miskovic also. Beyond can express my appreciation for what you guys did to bring this together. Great work as always. Thank you. And Jason is going to be helping us going forward with the budget as well.
Yes.
So thank you very much, Erica.
Thank you.
So that completes the budget discussion. We are about halfway through the board meetings. We're going to keep going. Board communications, just to reinforce one more time, to keep this very, very brief. Our primary method of communication is not Facebook. You'll very rarely see me put anything on Facebook. It's more of a community thing. We as a board have no control over what's on Facebook. Our primary method will be through emails that we'll send to individuals. So make sure you're on the email distribution list, and the Orange County DPW website, which is in dire need of making it smarter right now. It's very antiquated with what's on the website. We will be cleaning that up. Diana, would you mind helping with that? Only because you're new eyes on everything. It'd be a great help if you could actually help us take a look at that from an outside perspective and say, this don't make sense, clean this up type thing.
Definitely. Yes, I can help.
Thank you so much. And while I'm on the topic of Diana, Diana is new to our board, and thank you so much for stepping in midstream here to help us. We were in need of a Zoom account, and Diana stepped right in there, worked with DPW and got that nailed out for us. So thank you for making that happen. Appreciate it. That's it for board communications. DPW interface, we as a board, we meet with keep in mind the way this is structured. This is really Orange County stuff, and we are all residents here. A board is put together to be the interface between the residents and the county. So we have a quarterly meeting with the DPW. Our last meeting we just held with them was on May 18th. It was Erica, myself, and Chris. We met with the DPW commissioner and deputy commissioner. Lasted about a little over an hour and a half. We went over all the safety issues, board membership changes that we had to put in place, budget needs, our liabilities around the what's going on, the Zoom account, the dam issues, some things that we're seeing, making sure that the inspections are being done and we're aware of what they're seeing on their part with the inspections on it. The lake treatment, the grant process, lake management RFP. The one thing we're trying to get together is a company to come out and help us be the eyes and ears to tell us what we should be doing to make our lake better go in the future years. Chris is leading that effort for us, but we're having a difficult time getting a contract in place. So that was a big part of that discussion with the DPW the other day.
And might I add, that resulted in an actual commissioner giving the discretionary line for this, to get it going for this year.
So we deeply appreciate the DPW stepping up. Now, they are very responsive to our request. It's not just not lip service when we deal with it. They're a big part of our team. Where to leave off out there? The RFP, I talked about municipality issues and sewer. We talked about the fish restocking. We talked about that. They actually have to do an extension on the contract with Hicklings, our fishery, to be able to stock fish. It expired last year. It was a one-year contract. We have to do an extension to do more this year. Boat launch, our plans there, the landscaping, the contracts, and the Cornwall Social Club updates. There were actions that came out from that meeting, and they put together actions, and not just our actions, the DPW actions, and everybody was very, very quick to kill the actions. So appreciate their help. Meeting notes from that meeting were all shared with the board members. Does anybody have any comments about the DPW meeting? Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions at all about the DPW interface at all? Rules and regulations, nothing to add at this time other than it's on our radar screen. We know it needs to be done. There are two documents primarily, which is the bylaws, which tell us how to function as a board, which are incredibly antiquated and outdated and poorly organized. And there's another document called Local Law 8 of 1991. The date signifies how old it is. that also is very antiquated and dire need of being, put some intelligence back into it. But that's on our radar screen, and we have to do those 2 documents. And we'll be looking for public input on those as well when we get to that part.
For the bylaws.
For those 2 parts, bylaws and
Local law.
local law. Bylaws tell us how to function as a board. The local law tells the residents what the do's and don'ts are relative to the layout.
You know, there are local attorneys who update bylaws for nonprofits.
Oh, really?
Very reasonable, yeah.
Okay.
There's a group in Goshen.
Uh-huh.
I'll look it up for you.
Can you get back to me on that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. We'll throw in a cup of coffee.
yeah. Will do.
Thank you. What was your first and last name again?
I'm Mike Tedford,
Mike Tedford. Mike Tedford is a resident who lives over in Lake Road.
Lake Road.
Yeah, and so he showed up today to show his support here for the board and for everything we got going on. Thank you, Mike. Beach update, Erica, again.
So the Department of Health is doing their site visit on June 21st. So basically they do their site visit, and in the past we have had no significant findings, reasons that our beach would not be opened or permitted. So we will have them come, they run through a specific checklist to make sure we have, you know, the proper signage and the proper safety protocol in place, and they will do that on June 21st. The expectation is to hopefully open that weekend. The permit will be valid when, you know, after that they leave that day, barring anything really unexpected. And we have a really great relationship with the Department of Health and the evaluators that come. So I'm excited about that. The thing that's in progress is always the hiring of the lifeguards. So thank you. The challenge this year has been that most of our lifeguards, all of our lifeguards except for one that have applied so far, are high school students. And what's great is that our local high schools allow our lifeguards to recertify every year, which is something that they need to do. We require annual recertification. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in who just finished their certification. So they have to get me all of their paperwork. So they're in various states of handing things in. As soon as that can happen, the DPW approves them, we can interview them, and we can hire them. So I am hoping that all of those things come together, and we will be opening our beach the last week of June. So stay tuned, and that's what I've got.
Let me just ask a quick question, Erica. So the goal is 5 lifeguards, and you have 5 in the pipeline right now, correct?
The goal is 5 lifeguards. I have 5 in the pipeline. Feel free, if you still have people that are interested, send them to me. Our challenge is that we need a waterfront lifeguard, which is a different certification, and that we need something called a CPR and AED for the professional rescuer, which is a certification that's above and beyond general, like CPR, AED that you might see at a like pool or something. So, you know, our lifeguards have to be heavily certified and annually renewed. So, which is great in terms of safety, but it's a little bit tricky in terms of logistically hiring them when they're in high school. College students get a little bit quicker of a jump on it just because they get out earlier.
Is that it?
That's it. Cross your
Okay.
fingers that our lifeguards get hired by the last week of June.
Okay, so just to reiterate, Erica's, again, deeply appreciate your support. She's going through to try to pull together the effort for the lifeguards and the inspection from the Department of Health to get the beach up and running. There's a lot of work that goes in with not just setting up the beach, but managing the beach, getting it running. Eric has been doing it single-handedly in the past. We did put money in the budget to try to hire a company to actually do that to make it easier on us, and we'll see how that plays out for 2024. But right now, we're pulling it together as a board. The opening date's consistent with all that, as it has been for the many, many years, and so as long as I can recall, it'll be the end of June. And the primary reason for this is waiting for the kids to get out of school that were lifeguards. They have to graduate and get complete certifications complete. In addition to that, it's not just the lifeguards and the paperwork, it's actually the sand and the water and the ropes and all of that. We rely heavily on volunteers, and a couple things on that. One is we had the swim area, Tom Lark and Bart Raffaelli. Deeply appreciate your help. They go out in the boat and they put the ropes around the swim area. They make sure everything's clean out there, and they give us feedback for what needs to be done. They've been working on that. They have that about 95, 98% set up. So thank you, Tom Lark and Captain Bart Raffaelli for using the boat to get that done. The beach and the sand area, we had a volunteer effort last weekend. It went on Saturday and Sunday. It consisted of going in the shallower water to actually remove the dead vegetation, so it's not yucky when you walk in there. So we have hours put into that. With that, we had volunteers, Christine Little. Christine, thank you so much for your help. Neil Morano, thank you for your help. Rolling up your pant legs and jumping in and doing that. We had a bunch of board members also dedicate their time beyond not just serving as a board here, but also going in there to make sure the swim area is good for the other people who do come here with their kids and use the swim area. So if you do have kids and want to help and volunteer to get involved with these things, so it's good. We don't have any other dates right now. Does anybody see the need for another volunteer effort right now?
At the moment, I mean, if we were to take a look, the treatment's doing a good job. You know, as it warms up, it very well could start to kick up a little bit.
The treatment for the vegetation actually did kill all of the milfoil and everything within the area. What we were doing is actually removing the dead vegetation and getting it out of the way. And I think everybody did a great job last week. I don't see a need right away for another.
It'd have to begin growing again. It's gonna take some time.
And Christine Little, I can't thank you enough for sharing your secret tool for removing weeds from Sandy Beach. It's 35 years old or something like that, and you can't invent one like that today. It's pretty awesome. Thank you. So right now we're not going to put on another community support date then right now. Is that correct? And if we do, we'll make sure that's out well enough in advance so people could actually put it into their agendas and be available to support us. Okay, Erica, do you need any other help from anybody else at the beach?
I'm going to connect with Diana, and we will work together to make sure that the two of us are able to manage it and streamline it any way we can.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you very much, Diana. And one of the things we look for in the board is that we don't want one individual to be that one smart person. We want defense in depth. So if somebody wins the lottery, if somebody goes away, we have somebody as a backup to make sure it works. So Diana and Erica, thank you for making it happen. Okay, lake health treatments. I'll try to move things on a little bit faster. Honda Lake Connection is our company that helps with the treatments of the lake. Our last treatment was our first treatment was on May 11th, and that was for the herbicide. But subsequent to that, it got a lot of feedback from the residents, and everybody was actually seeing it, that the milfoil and everything was still proliferating, taking off like crazy, especially it was even up 5 feet deep. You still saw it was green on the top. We also noted that filamentous algae was starting to appear. Long story short, we called the company up, said, can you come out here and take a reevaluation on this? They did that for us. What they identified was that the vast majority of all the vegetation was dead or dying. Milfoil dies a little bit differently than other weeds. It actually dies from the bottom up. So when you look at the top, you'll still see green, and it doesn't mean it's still alive. It's actually in the process of dying. Temperature is a huge variable parameter that you really don't have any control over. That affects on how fast things work. It normally takes about 7 to 10 days. In this case, it took about 23 days before it kicked in because of the temperatures. The water just wasn't as warm as it really ideally should have been. So the first treatment was done on May 11th, had delayed effects. I talked about the delayed effects. It came back out then on June 2nd then to do another treatment for us to get ahead of everything. We did the herbicide treatment and targeted locations. It was a follow-up to spot anything that wasn't dead or dying and retreat that area. And we also did our first algicide treatment on June 2nd. So far this year, we've had one herbicide and one algicide treatment. They targeted the beach area very heavily for us to make sure that that is as clean as possible. There's some verbiage in the permits, which is what's called half-lake treatment. That's based on volume of the lake. It's not like you draw a line down the middle of the lake and you only treat half the lake. It's based on the volume, which really allows you to do the whole perimeter of the lake. We did go over the budget limits for 2023 to make sure that we're staying in check. The James Gorman with Pond and Lake Connection, he is going to help us do that. And we also went over what the needs will be for 2024 to make sure we're lined up properly with our budget on that. So we have all those numbers. That's it for lake health treatments. Anybody have any questions on that? Okay. The next part is the DEC grant. progress. Fred has been leading that effort for us. Fred, can you give us a brief update?
Yes, I've been in constant contact with Mary Beckman, at the Department of DOH. Everything's been submitted to her as far as treatments dating all the way back to 2018, 2017. She is supposed to draw up the required instrumentation, documentation to submit to Vicki Regenbaum at the Department of New York DEC, who will then, with the powers that be, determine what is submitted for reimbursement based on the grant. Now, the grant was for $100,000, of which we are reimbursable up to 52% of what we spend for that. And a spreadsheet.
They're having a hard time hearing Fred.
Hmm?
They're having a hard time hearing Fred. If you could come on over here,
Oh, I'm sorry.
You need a microphone.
technical
You
difficulties.
we've got to just keep us on check. We got about 12 minutes left.
All right, good.
Keep brief.
Oh, I'll talk like you, Wally.
Hot seat.
You okay?
I'm sober, trust me.
Steve,
All right, so working with the DOH and the New York State DEC, everything's been submitted that has to be submitted, or we've expended all the way back to 2017. So it's up to the Department of Health, the DPW, to submit the information to DEC for reimbursement. When reimbursement takes place, as Erica spoke about before, it will go into our surplus end of the budget for future use. So as of today, we've calculated, thanks to Jason, he cleaned up my spreadsheet. We have $57,103 that we have submitted for expenditures that have taken place to date, with additional expenditures to take place during the year. We have until July 10th of 2004 to submit expenditures. So we're keeping on top of this between the DPW and DEC.
Perfect. So just to reiterate, we have $51,000 of expenditures we sent to
Yes.
that are out, of which 52% is reimbursable, which is about 26.
If everything gets accepted.
If it gets accepted, roughly about $26,000.
Right.
If you
And
get
more-
that back, that goes into what's called our
Sound like
surplus
I'm
budget.
doing a telethon here. Yeah, and more to come. Send in those dollars and.
Be careful how you say that. Thank you, Fred. Okay. The next part is lake testing, Chris.
So the saga is finally quotes. We were trying to get lake management running. We wanted originally to have a 3-year contract. There were some nuances that were slowing it down through getting it all approved in DPW. Through the DPW call that Wally had mentioned, the commissioner decided to lend a line up to, and we were trying to decide actually exactly what this number is, because the commissioner had mentioned it was $25,000 in the past. Commissioner discretion lines have been $9,999. It turns out, Wally, there's 2 different categories, correct? That the lower has to do with commodities, and the higher 25,000 is services.
Professional services.
Professional services. So turns out that lake management falls under, luckily, the $25,000 line. What we had originally drawn up and had a proposal from one company that we were looking to work with was well under that number. So at the moment, there were, so we originally had 4 services that we were looking to have performed. So that was lake testing of invasive species, the tributaries themselves, because that was something that we've been trying to highlight, where our pollution potential phosphorus issues are coming from, because we well know that the lake is on a list for high phosphorus as per the DEC. So, and we also know that it's internally loaded. So it's already in the lake, and it just kind of keeps going through the cycle. The plants grow and it drops back down, and the phosphorus just doesn't go away. So and with that, we also had some other possible potential services like testing fisheries, see how well our fish are doing, see how healthy they are, how many we have. And then lastly, there was bathymetry. Bathymetry is a combination of GPS and some sonar and plots, and the boat has to go into the lake. And the idea is to find the contour, the depth, so to speak, the topography of the lake bed. So we had been under the impression for quite some time, as the website of Orange County and our own website on the Orange County DPW site, it stated that bathymetry was from 2012, 2013. In fact, after speaking to one of the consultants that we will be working with in the next year, they pointed out that it was not actual bathymetry, and that the most recent bathymetry was 1992. Just to carry this further, for us to continue to use this, the invasive species grant, potentially anything that we look for any company to do for us that has to do invasive species, we of course would get back 52%, as Fred mentioned. But certain actions cannot be done, and we would not potentially get the licenses or permits through the DEC without an updated bathymetry. So with that, just to make everything copacetic, we had changed the newer single year contract. So what we were trying to do, so I'll backtrack. We were trying to do a 3-year. We have not come to terms with a 3-year. So the commissioner is allowing us a 1-year. We are still going to go forth with the 3-year going through 24, 25, 26, up to 27. So a 3-year contract with the lake management company. So the current, the last 2 services on the table were lake testing and, help me out.
The bathymetric.
No, that was the third. That was the one that we were leaving off the table. It was
Fish study.
so we decided that it was not pertinent to do fisheries, and we were going to leave that for another year. Fish seem to be doing well. You can see everybody fishing, and we also decided to, at the time, cut bathymetry out. Plant surveys and water testing. So those 2 services we decided that were very important. We wanted to have those 2 carried out by lake management. The third one, and the questionable one, was bathymetry. Based on the information I just gave you of how important it may be, I would like to make a motion for the board to include that, if we could so vote on that. And so that would be a third service that we're bringing back potentially to this commissioner discretion line contract for 1 year.
Just a quick question. Bathymetric is, I get it. I know it's a mapping of basically the lake itself. What was the itemized cost for that part of it?
It was $4,397.
So we added $4,300 to our 2024. We put in for $20,000 for next year, correct?
Correct, for next year.
That's next year. So this is 2023 budget.
Correct.
And we have 35,000 in the bucket for that.
Correct. Yes.
So we're well below that money.
Well
But we're also well below the threshold for the 25,000 for commissioner discretion.
Correct.
Okay. And again, from what we always look for is we just don't want to spend money for the sake of spend money. We want to make sure we're adding value.
Right.
As Chris said, the bathymetric will actually assist us for a couple of reasons, and that'll help us get more money in the future for other projects on the lake.
Yeah, so it's one of those keys that could potentially open the door for us to then get money back, because what we're doing to help the lake, we're in this window, luckily, for the next 13 or 12 and a half months to get a bit of a kickback.
Okay, so we're going to make a motion to add the bathymetric
To add
back in.
bathymetric.
Okay.
Second. Somebody motion.
Oh, so I got the motion, you got the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
So we approve that. So right now we're running very, very short on time now. Is everybody okay to carry on for about 15 more minutes? Okay. Before I start rotating the camera, let me see whereabouts we are.
Bottom of page 4.
Keep me in check. Okay. And again, I'm just going to start getting brief on some of these. The The lake test we just talked about. Let's, no real big update for the external sewer municipality updates, correct? Chris?
Sorry.
The sewer-
No, I'm still waiting on that callback, something that I
Okay.
asked, so no.
But we will be working close with New Windsor and the town of Cornwall. So we'll be dealing with the town of New Windsor, Steve. Thank you for all your support as always. Fishing. The other thing I want to say that is I want to reinforce that the Beaver Dam Lake is for residents and their escorted guests only. So if you're on the lake fishing, you need to be, anybody on the lake needs to be a resident or an escorted guest. We don't want to see is boats on the lake without stickers, and we don't want to see people parking in parking lots that don't have stickers on their car because they're just coming in from out of town and catching the fish that you guys all paid money in the budget for to stock the lake. So I'm not asking anybody, definitely don't become the police and start trying to police the area. If you will, if you see people violating things, the police departments are very, very responsive to us. So just contact either the Cornwall or town of New Windsor police and they come out and deal with it. Just let them know what reserve it's on that you're seeing the issues. Right now, we are still working on restocking efforts for the fall part of the year, which would be yellow perch. Just keep it brief and that's it for the fishing. Reserves and community property, the dam and surrounding area. Eric, we've already talked about the appraisal, the title search and insurance and easement cost for 2024 is in there. The house down by the dam did finally sell. Welcome neighbors and also any other new neighbors that moved into the area. Welcome to Beaver Dam Lake. The boat launch area, Kevin Boyle is taking the lead on that. We did have an individual look at pouring concrete for us, but now we're rethinking that. We might want to just go with paving it. It might be less expensive, it might hold up better. So we want to look at the cost and the best approach on that. So that's still up in the air. Landscaping, we have new landscaper, Magano Landscaping, who's been doing a great job. He gives us feedback. He very, very responsive to any of our requests. Thank you, Magano Landscaping, for everything you're doing for us. He has also given us feedback. He's seeing a lot of trash building up on Reserve 6 and Reserve 8 also. So it's just something that we've got to try to tighten up on. We might have to come up with a way of actually getting better controls on Reserve 8. There's a lot of people coming in at nighttime, camping out there, playing music and stuff. So
I've called many times, I just have a direct eye line of that.
and Steve, do you have any recommendations on that for us? Reserve 8, which is where the boat launch is. Basically what's going on, if people are coming in at nighttime, most likely not residents. We're finding all kind of trash on the
Bottles in the morning.
reserve, bottles in the morning kind of stuff, but noise at night and all kind of stuff in the parking lot. Just call the police and have the police deal with it. Okay. Okay. Yeah, thank you. That's Steve Vendetti. He's here supporting us like he always does. Thank you.
Well, it's just a simple thing, like a gate with a lock on it.
But
There's keys.
we actually thought about that, just like we have here, and we put a chain across over there. Basically, we were challenged with that, so we do that. They're just going to drive across the grass and come in. But I think put the chain up, and that's a good starting point. So,
What they're doing now is we've seen the ration, they back it into parking areas. Or they're fronting it in and opening their gates, so they're not even, you don't see a sticker anyway. They leave the back gate open, or they're reversing it and stuff.
Yep.
Casting line.
yeah. And again, we're not the police for it.
Yeah.
But you are taxpayers, and it's your area. What we don't want is a lot of people coming in and taking free rides on what you're paying the tax for. So it's got to be a better control.
Quick comment.
Well, Wally, you do have a question in the chat box. When can we come in person to get a new permit?
I'm going to let Fred answer that. Actually,
I couldn't hear the question. We were planning.
In-person permits.
when can they come in person to get permits?
We have I just, Larry and I were just talking a day or so ago about proposing June 27th. June 27th.
Okay, so June 27th, Tuesday, what time?
About 6:30.
So June 27th at 6:30 at the community building. Fred and Larry will be in here supporting in-person permit.
All right, bring your vehicle registrations.
Bring all the forms that are required. That's on the form that you got to fill it out in advance.
And a reminder for anybody who's listening, that the orange stickers are still valid.
The orange stickers on your vehicle are still valid for this year. Okay, I'm going to try to keep moving here. The boat racks, we're building that. Give credit there to Andy.
Yeah, so real quick, we've had a resident reach out, we mentioned this in the previous meetings. We finally have a prototype, so to speak, of a small rack that has been built. on Reserve 2. You may see it, it's nearest the road. Just want to mention something about that. So there are 5 boats on that very next section. We as a board need to grab the boat log, the sticker logs, and see if we can locate the owners. Because what we want to do is have those boats move so we can deconstruct what's there and reconstruct something that's a little bit better. So if by any chance you're on the call or you happen to know and your first couple boats that are right by on Reserve 2 and right next to the new racks, those boats, we do want to speak to you to see about getting them moved.
If you can supply a list of the numbers of any boats, I can look it up on the spreadsheet.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so Fred has records of all that, of course. Yeah. And just a note about the stickers, there are boats there that are not current. Just being there last week, there's a few that have stickers that are from the, I think what was it,
90s.
Yeah, maybe the 90s, but the early teens,
They
definitely.
have the old green stickers. So good.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so what we're finding, our goal right now is to clean up any boats that aren't properly registered for use on Beaver Dam Lake.
Yeah, and also mentioned at the last meeting, and this is going to be forthcoming in the next year. You're going to hear us talk about this over the next year or so. That we're actually going to look for, a new storage policy, a complete reworking of it to what makes sense, type of boats, who can leave it, how long, those type of things. But we'll have to discuss it. It's very much in its infancy, so please don't really ask questions about it at the moment, because we're just kind of doing a scoping as what's to be needed, because we have a major problem and it's boat stagnation.
Yep.
So we want to keep boats moving, and we're going to make sure people aren't storing boats for 20 years and not touching them.
Yeah, there's boats there that probably the residents don't even live here anymore. They're just abandoned on the place. So
Well, their grandchildren use them every 5 years and they re-sticker them and they're still sitting there.
Okay,
So.
very good. But thank you to Andy. who's
Yeah, all right, so Andy, he really didn't want to be mentioned
I'm
so
sorry.
much.
Okay, just leave it at Andy.
But his name is Andy, and you'll probably see us out there on another day building, so you can stop by and say hi.
Thank you to all the residents who volunteer their time.
In fact, when you were down there last time, I was down to make sure they weren't stealing.
That's right. Thought we were suspicious.
I do see another question in the chat box. Are there forms for the boat permits also? The forms and the boat permits are in the bins, the info boxes that you see at the reserves. But if you want electronically, go to the email that you got this link in, and it's in the signature of that email.
We'll do the boat permitting also on the 27th.
So it'll be vehicle and boat permitting on the 27th. Okay, that's it for the boat racks. I think we talked enough about the boat permitting cleanup because we are still in the infancy stage. Weather station, do we want to talk about that at all right now, Jason? Just briefly?
Getting some technical issues with getting in the count, but I think I'll be making some progress. So hopefully we get some cool weather updates soon.
Okay. Very good. Thank you for that. The geese update, Claire. Just
Make it real quick. Basically, the USDA has been out to our lovely Beaver Dam Lake a number of times. They have oiled a minimum of 70 plus eggs. They've identified many nests. We are substantially down from last year on goose population. Sometime this week, the USDA will be coming to Beaver Dam Lake and rounding up some birds and taking them out of here. So we don't want to discuss the details of what happens to those birds, but we don't want them here regardless. So that is the also part of the Stewart Airport safety. So it helps out. So I'm not sure whether the USDA came and rounded up the birds yet, but we did see a truck on the reserve the other day. All right, so there's not too much to talk about with that. Otherwise,
let me just add a couple comments on that really quick there. The relative to the geese, Tyler from the USDA, he actually was here the other day. That was only for the purpose of surveying what he's seeing out there right now. There was no collection. Basically, what they do to round the geese up, they have to lose their flight feathers, and they molt during the molting, which only occurs for about 3 days in the month of June. So they try to target those particular 3 dates, and he did not feel we're there yet. And they have a lot of work to do, and they actually did say to me that there may be a chance he won't be able to come out and round up Beaver Dam Lake because they have to prioritize. The way this works, actually, just to add a little bit more, Canadian geese are these particular ones are resident, they're not migratory, even though they're called Canadian geese, they're actually resident geese, and they are federally protected. But what allows the USDA to do that is based on the proximity to Stewart Airport. You don't want a goose getting sucked into the engine of any planes. We're actually 3.5 miles away from Stewart Airport. The limit is actually 3 miles, but they feel that that's within limit. Part of our lake is actually within 3 miles. So they still work under that. The geese and the newborns would basically be collected and hauled off, and they are not touching the swans or the swan eggs. That was by a couple of residents' specific requests, and actually swans are noted to be a great deterrent for Canadian geese. So even though we only have about 10 swans out there, they actually help a lot for the lake. The geese, they'll beat the geese up pretty badly. And Larry, thank you so much for heading that up and doing your parts. Appreciate it. Okay, C-SLAP we had 2 dates of sampling taken, starting on May 30th and also on June 11th. Fred, Molly, and Kevin, and now Jason is our new guy on deck for helping out with the C-SLAP sampling. So thank you very much for all you do and appreciate it. Cornwall Social Club. The town of Cornwall Planning Board meeting had a meeting, and they discussed the Cornwall Social Club. That was on June 5th. My understanding, and Larry, you can add in if you need to, but all they did, there was no detailed review. It was pretty much just a very quick, are we going to approve the plan or not? And that's what they did, they approved the plan.
Not much to add, really. They were what was called on for resolution. They were called up very, very quickly, and it was just shuffled right through. So I did email Diane Hines asking her for some more detail regarding the plan that they had submitted. She told me it's not ready yet for people to view, but when it is, people can put in for a FOIL request to the town, and they would be have access to that. So currently, the only information is the last set of submitted plans. They are still on the town from May, so that's where we're at.
Okay, and just to reiterate, is the purpose of the strong interest in the Cornwall Social Club. It's a commercial facility, and they were originally planning on putting a wastewater treatment system in that was going to discharge with 5,200 gallons per day of wastewater that was going to be flowing to a pond through a tributary and directly into our lake. And the level of phosphorus would have actually been a way too strong of a tipping point for the health of our lake. And we deeply appreciate the Cornwall Social Club revisiting that and stepping away from that. So right now, there's no plans to put a wastewater treatment system on the property. C-SLAP we talked about. Community events. Jason, thank you very much for doing the rain garden presentation.
Yep, happy to do it again if there's demand for it.
Okay, deeply appreciate it. The yard sale that went off without a hitch on May 20th.
Yes, so just really briefly, we do have a book club that will be running on the 3rd Wednesday of every month. It's inclusive to all, and the organizer is Leah Linder Matthews. So she is active in the whole group. She's really been doing a great job organizing. So that will be every 3rd Wednesday, which we as a group have agreed that the building is available to allow access to that. We also have an upcoming jewelry event with Cecilia. So jewelry making with Cecilia, and that will be on the 28th of June. Then hopefully we can get the very simple form out to the residents on a hot point, or like you call it, like a hot link on our email for building use. We would like to get 1 month's notice. If you want to request a building use form, you fill it out, we'll look at it, we'll all vote and get together and, you know, get you access to this building as long as you're following all the rules. So that's pretty much what we've got. Again, we have the permit event that we're going to do live here. Fred, I, and probably Molly will join us. That will be on the 27th at 6:30. Usually we run an hour. We can run longer if there's a lot of people. One time we had about 50 people come and it ran a little longer. Come, get your permits. It makes it a lot easier. Thank you.
Thank you. The only other thing I will add is that the primary election for the town of New Windsor supervisor is coming up. That election is going to be Tuesday, June 27th, I believe. Normally one of the polling places is the community building here. I went online and looked, and it looks like this is not going to be used as a polling place for that election. Yeah, so I didn't see it, but stay tuned. If we see anything, we'll post it out there for you. But the primary election will be on June 27th. And good luck, Steve. Any other events that anybody else has a radar screen?
Just, the main thing is that if people want to do something, you know, they can reach out directly to me. I'm happy to advise them. So, you know, the best ideas are nothing without somebody taking action on it. So I'm happy to facilitate, happy to walk you through the process of getting access to building use, but, you know, you're gonna have to take the initiative. If you come up with an idea, please plan on having some kind of a plan, and certainly you're gonna have to be the driving force in making that happen. But we're open to a lot of great things to happen.
Thank you for that.
Well,
Okay, that completes the agenda items let's go to the forum. Any final board member comments? Fred? Larry?
no, we're good.
Chris?
No.
Jason?
No.
Diana?
No,
Okay. Erica, do you have anything to add?
Please don't fish on or near Reserve 4, which is the community swim beach. It can
Yeah.
compromise our DOH permit.
And in addition to that, we actually did find fish hooks by the picnic table during the Girl Scout event. Is that correct? From people that were violating that you're not supposed to be fishing from here.
Yeah,
I
in
knew
fact,
that
we
was-
found fish hooks on 4, 3, and on 2 when the girls were doing the litter pick. So just be conscious of it if you're down there, especially with like bare feet and stuff.
Great comment. Thank you, Erica. Okay. Any resident comments? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions.
Yep.
It's like my second or third time coming to one of these. New to the area. I've been here about a year.
What's your name?
Bill Fenny, I'm from 9 Windsor Road.
Okay.
I what he said, I noticed cars. I mean, what do you say reserves and launches? What is that?
Okay. The county owns property around the lake. Like
Okay,
the county effectively owns the majority of the lake. Some residents actually own the land under the lake,
okay,
but the majority of the lake and the land under it's owned by Orange County. In addition to that, there are 8 what's called reserves around the lake, and they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way around, going counterclockwise. 1 is all the way up when you first come in. 2 is the next reserve, which is the bigger parking lot. 3 is where you'll see some boats there, and it's like down a hill. This is reserve 4.
so it goes this way.
Exactly.
Okay, so I remember, I mean, I didn't know who to call, I didn't know if I was, you know, overstepping my boundaries or whatever, but I noticed, like the gentleman behind me said, a couple weeks ago, when we had that hot spell, I seen, people there, which, I see the sign that says no swimming. I seen people of, South American descent there, saying what he said, with fishing, they had people floating around in the water on little tubes. But I don't know who to call or what to say. So, I mean, I see you guys were touched on it, and he said something about it. I mean, I noticed that. I think it's a concern because obviously, I mean, obviously they don't care, and they, you know, they're pushing their kids around. I mean.
Well, so as a resident, you're entitled to make that phone call.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you're talking about these permits and everything. You said something about the tailgate being open.
Yeah,
I
with
mean, you don't know,
it's
because
pretty-
the animals were fishing, they were drinking, and the women were swimming around.
So it's pretty cut and dry. They do not have stickers, and then if somebody approaches them, like law enforcement, and they cannot produce if they're a resident, then they'll take it from there.
And conversely, if they park on a reserve and don't have a sticker, the police have every right to ticket that vehicle immediately.
Right, I noticed it, because I come down like, what is it, Valley? And it's like the one that's closer to Valley, the bigger one.
Mhm.
So that's where I was talking about.
Yeah, are you new to the area, did you say?
Yeah.
One thing's-
I'm here.
I'd highly recommend, if you haven't done it yet, go to the Orange County DPW website, the Beaver Dam Lake section, and then there is a document called Local Law 8 of 1991, which basically lays out what can and can't be done. And it's worthwhile to-
Obviously, there's no swimming, I mean, I know there's no swimming allowed except over here, I'm
Well,
assuming, right?
This is the only place that we are regulated by with the Department of Health, where we actually have a lifeguards in place. If you are a lakefront homeowner, you can go swim in the lake. Not again, say, take a
Right.
boat out in the lake, you can swim. in
But
the
not
lake.
on a launch though, right? I mean, because it doesn't seem like these people belong there.
Yeah, that's not, that's at your own risk, realistically, and they shouldn't be there because. I got your point.
No, I was just saying, you know, it was a concern to me, but, I saw this permit that you're talking about, I've been trying to do this for almost a year already. So now I just gotta fill this out, you said June 27th, I can come here in person?
In person, 6:30 p.m. Yeah. just read the information that you have to bring, on that form, come here and you'll leave with stickers.
Do you need volunteers to help you with that ticketing?
No, that's right now, it'd be Molly, myself, and Larry, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm looking to be there.
Okay, I mean, do you need resident volunteers at all?
Hmm?
Do you need residents to volunteer to help?
No,
Okay.
we don't. Only 3 or 4 people can handle it.
Okay.
And then one other question. So this beach, the target date is the 30th?
Erica, the target opening date is going to be the, which date? Is there a particular date or is just the last week of June?
Yeah, I would like to open it June 24th if we have a lifeguard hired to work it that day. But again, like I have to,
Very cool.
the DPW has to give me the go ahead.
Yeah, so there's 2 things that got to happen. The lifeguards have to be hired and fully qualified, and the Department of Health actually has to come out and do the inspection to say, yes, you're good to go. Eric is bringing that all together for us. If those 2 checks are into place and are held up always, a lot of residents going to say, why aren't you open up Memorial Day? Well, a bunch of reasons. But one is that we don't have lifeguards because they're all high school students, they're still in school, and they're not qualified yet, number 1. And number 2, not too many people really want to go in water when it's 50 degrees. So.
So the beach goes from obviously 0. What's the deepest point, like, this part I know?
I think it's about 15 feet. I'm not mistaken.
Erica.
Yeah.
The floating mats that we put out there are at 10 feet deep, and the buoys go out to between 12 and 15 feet deep at the deepest point.
You feel a nice temperature change. It's really good. Hot day, you get out there, you just drop in, cool off.
Yeah.
Do you have any other questions at all?
No other question. Oh, about the fish.
Yep.
What kind of fish are in here?
Live ones.
I know.
Barking out.
The, basically, we drained the lake for the purpose of rebuilding the dam. All the fish that were in there, no pun intended, went over the dam. We restocked it. We had a budget to do some restocking, which was $20,000 last year. We put in a plethora of largemouth bass of 2 different sizes. And we also put in a ton of fathead minnows, which is the primary food source, and we put crappies in. The plan was to also put the yellow perch in last fall. We had the budget money and we had a contract in place with somebody. They went into their pond in October to go pull out our quota of yellow perch to bring them here and deliver it. When they went into their pond, the pond was empty. So we didn't get them last year. So we had to extend that contract to this year, and yellow perch you could only stock in the fall. So we're hopefully this fall we'll be able to put them in.
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice to be. It's a nice area.
Yeah,
It's
well,
a really
welcome.
nice area.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
I think we were looking at changing the beach hours as well, later in the season. I don't know if Erica wanted to touch base on that, but we'll do it later.
Yeah, I think it's premature to get into that. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Larry was bringing up, do we want to consider changing the beach hours for the summer? My recommendation, let's get into it and then see how we have to adjust.
August versus July.
Yeah, because there's no spring ahead, fall back. It's just longer daylight. Is that what you're saying, Larry?
The need for the beach to be open after 7 p.m. exists when it's hot and when it's busy, we don't want to close down.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't, just to make a quick comment on that, we don't all too often get folks down there after 7 p.m. onesies, twosies occasionally. And if we have a lifeguard that wants extra hours, historically, they've stayed a little bit later for them in the past when they were able to do that.
Okay, thank you, Erica. Okay, any other questions from the floor? Any other questions on the chat box anywhere?
Questions in chat.
I understand no questions in chat. With that being said, motion to adjourn. I got a motion, I got a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Do appreciate it. Thank you again.
Excellent job. Thank you.
So